I let my friends convince me my loving boyfriend was too boring, so cheated on him during a wild weekend with a stranger. Now he won't take me back even though I blamed my friends for my mistake. Hugo and I were that couple that makes you a little envious, not for great luxuries or exotic trips, but for the calmness. Our relationship was a safe harbor, a place where I could be 100% myself. He is the kindest man I have ever met. He remembered how I liked my coffee. He would leave me encouraging notes on the mirror on days I had an important meeting and would listen to my endless work dramas with infinite patience. He was my home. I knew, with a certainty that anchored me to the ground, that Hugo was the love of my life. But my circle of friends, Sarah and Valeria, did not see it that way. They're different. They're fireworks, always looking for the next big thrill. Both are single, jumping from one relationship to another, collecting wild anecdotes to tell at Sunday brunch. And amidst their stories of disastrous dates and fleeting romances, my life with Hugo seemed boring to them. They did not say it directly, of course. They did it with little jabs, with questions disguised as concern. "Lorena, you are so young. Do you not feel like you are missing out on something?" "Oh, Hugo is a saint, really." "Sometimes he is too good, do you not think?" They planted little seeds of doubt in my mind so subtly that I barely noticed. I began to see my relationship through their eyes. Our calmness became monotony. Hugo's kindness became a lack of excitement. The security he gave me began to feel like a cage. They would tell me about their adventures and, although they often ended in disaster, they sounded exciting, and my life suddenly felt terribly predictable. I was the only one in the group who stayed home on a Friday night watching a movie with her boyfriend, and they made me feel as if I were missing out on life itself. The seeds of doubt my friends planted began to sprout. The temptation did not come in the form of a mysterious man, but in the form of an invitation. Sarah and Valeria planned a girls' weekend in a coastal city. A whole weekend, no boyfriends, no rules, just to reconnect with our wild essence, as Sarah said with a complicit laugh. When I told Hugo about it, his reaction was the same as always, sweet and understanding. "That is great, Lore, you deserve it. Have a lot of fun." Not a hint of jealousy, not an inquisitive question. His unwavering trust, which used to make me feel secure, now, through my friend's filter, seemed like indifference. They would say, "See, he does not even care. He takes you for granted." The weekend was exactly as they had promised. Cocktails from noon, loud music in the apartment we rented, partying until dawn. I felt like a character in a movie. Sarah and Valeria were experts in this world. They flirted with strangers, danced on tables. At first, I felt out of place, like an imposter. The second night we were in a crowded bar. The music was deafening, the neon lights flickered. I was drinking more than I should have, trying to keep up with them. A group of guys approached us. One of them, I think his name was Yvonne, started talking to me. He was handsome, with that easy confidence that men accustomed to attention have. I felt flattered. It had been years since anyone had looked at me like that. We talked over the music, we laughed. It was exciting, forbidden. Sarah saw me from the bar and winked at me, giving a thumbs up. The gesture felt like an approval, like permission. Yvonne asked me to dance. And as we danced, very close, I felt my friend's eyes on me. It was not just the thrill of the moment, it was also the pressure not to be the boring one in the group, to have an interesting story to tell for once. A voice in my head that sounded suspiciously like Hugo was screaming at me to stop, that this was wrong, but Sarah and Valeria's voices were louder. "Live a little, Lorena. It is just one night, it does not mean anything. It is an experience. Hugo will never find out." Their mantras, repeated for months, echoed in my head to the beat of the music. I felt swept away by a current, driven by alcohol and a desperate need to prove to them, and perhaps to myself, that I could be wild too. The night became a blur of impulsive decisions. Every time my conscience tried to surface, I drowned it with another drink that Valeria put in my hand. Every time I thought of Hugo, of his kind face, Sarah would whisper in my ear, "Relax, Lore. This is your moment. Don't let guilt ruin it." Yvonne was persistent, he was handsome, and he was giving me attention that at that moment felt like oxygen. He whispered to me that I was the most beautiful woman in the bar. He told me my laugh was incredible. They were empty phrases, textbook cliches, but in my state, they sounded like the most beautiful poetry. When the bar closed, Yvonne's group suggested continuing the party on the beach. Sarah and Valeria were euphoric. "Come on, Lorena, it will be an adventure," Sarah shouted over the noise of the people leaving onto the street. I let myself be carried away, literally. Yvonne took my hand and dragged me with them. We sat on the cold sand with a bottle of something someone had brought. The waves crashed in the darkness. It was a scene out of a cheap romantic movie. My friends had paired off with the other guys from the group and were laughing in the distance. Yvonne and I stayed a little apart. He kissed me, and I kissed him back. In that instant, my mind went blank. There was no Hugo, no guilt, no nothing. Just the feeling of the sand, the sound of the sea, and the novelty of a stranger's lips. It was a purely impulsive act, a short circuit in my system. What happened next is confusing and shameful. We did not go back to his hotel or anything like that. It was something clumsy, quick, and meaningless, right there on the beach, clouded by alcohol and poor decision-making. It did not feel like love, not even like desire. It felt like a surrender. I had given in to the pressure, to the idea of what a wild night was supposed to be. When it was all over, I immediately felt empty. The cold of the night seeped into my bones. Yvonne fell asleep beside me almost instantly. I got up, brushed the sand off my clothes, and walked over to where my friends were. They were sitting, huddled together, watching the sunrise. "I did it," I told them, my voice broken. They looked at me and, instead of the euphoria I expected, I saw a kind of pity in their eyes. Valeria put an arm around my shoulders. "It is done, Lore. See? It was not a big deal. Now you have a story to tell." But I did not want a story, I wanted Hugo. And in the first light of dawn, I knew with devastating clarity that I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. The trip back home was a silent hell. Sarah and Valeria tried to cheer me up. They talked about how much fun it had been, about the anecdotes we had, but their laughter sounded hollow. The weight of what I had done was crushing me. Every kilometer that brought us closer to home was another twist in my stomach. I got to my apartment and Hugo was there, waiting for me with a smile. He had cleaned everything and had prepared my favorite dinner. "How was the trip?" "Honey, I missed you." His words, so pure and sincere, were like knives. I could not take it. I burst into tears. A heartbroken, hysterical cry. He, of course, got scared. He hugged me, asked me what was wrong, if I was okay, if my friends were okay, and in the midst of my sobs, I confessed everything. I could not keep it in. The guilt was a poison burning me from the inside, and I needed to get it out. I told him about the bar, about Yvonne, about the beach. Every word that came out of my mouth was a shovelful of dirt on the coffin of our relationship. I saw his face transform. Concern gave way to confusion, and confusion to a pain so deep and raw that I had to look away. When I finished speaking, the room fell into a deathly silence. I expected him to scream, to insult me, to break something, but he did none of that. He just stood there looking at me, and after what felt like an eternity, he spoke in a voice I barely recognized, a broken voice. "Why, Lorena?" Just that. Why? And that question disarmed me. And in my panic, in my desperation to make him understand, to mitigate my own guilt, I made my second big mistake. Instead of taking full responsibility, I looked for a scapegoat. "I don't know, Hugo," I stammered. "Sarah and Valeria, they said our life was boring, that I was missing out on things, that you were too good. They made me feel like I had to do something crazy." The words tumbled out, a pathetic excuse for my own weakness. I saw a new emotion replace the pain on his face. It was disappointment, an icy disappointment. "So you did this because of your friends?" he asked, and his voice no longer sounded broken, but incredibly distant. "You destroyed what we had because of peer pressure." "No, that is not it," I tried to correct, but the damage was already done. I realized the stupidity of my words, how they sounded. He shook his head slowly. "I think I need to be alone, Lorena. Please leave." I begged him. I pleaded with him not to kick me out, that we could talk about it, that it had been a stupid mistake, that I only loved him, but he was not listening to me. It was as if he had put on armor. He opened the door and waited. I had to leave. As I gathered a few things with my hands shaking, I realized the truth. I had not destroyed it just because of my friends. I had destroyed it because of my own stupidity, my own insecurity, and my selfishness. But it was too late to admit it. 2 weeks have passed, 2 weeks of constant agony. I'm sleeping on Valeria's couch, ironically. Hugo does not answer my calls or my messages. I have been to our apartment a couple of times, but he does not open the door. It is as if he has disappeared from my life, leaving a huge, painful hole. My friends, Sarah and Valeria, try to support me. They say things like, well, if he reacts like this over a silly mistake, maybe he was not the man for you. Or, this just shows he was not as strong as you thought. They try to reframe my betrayal as a test he failed. And although a part of me knows it is nonsense, another part, the desperate and hurt part, clings to those words. Maybe they are right. If he really loved me, he would fight for us. He would understand that it was a stupid thing, a moment of madness influenced by pressure and alcohol. He would understand that it meant nothing, that the person I love is him. A true love is stronger than a one-night mistake, is it not? But he does not even give me the chance to explain. He has sentenced me without a trial. He has erased me from his life, as if our years together meant nothing. And that is not fair. Yes, I made a mistake, a horrible mistake, the worst of my life. But it was a mistake. And it was a mistake I made because I was confused, because I'm suggestible, because I got carried away. I'm not a bad person. I did not want to hurt him, and now I'm paying a disproportionate price. Everyone makes mistakes. People who truly love each other forgive each other, but not him. He has chosen the path of wounded pride, of punishing silence. And while I'm here, shattered, regretful, willing to do anything to fix it, he simply closes the door on me. People will say I deserve it, but they don't understand. They don't understand the pressure, the confusion. My friends filled my head with ideas. They pushed me to the edge of the cliff. I was the one who jumped, yes, but they led me there. And now the love of my life hates me, and my friends look at me with pity, as if I were a social experiment gone wrong. I'm completely alone. He should understand me. He should forgive me. The fact that he does not, after everything we shared, is the real betrayal. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous User 1. Blaming your friends is the height of immaturity. They did not force you to do anything. You made every single decision that led you to that beach. Take responsibility. Hugo does not owe you forgiveness, and frankly, he did the right thing. Anonymous User 2. You say it is not fair that he does not want to get back together with you. Do you think it is fair to him that the woman he loves destroyed his trust because of the opinion of her party girlfriends? The lack of self-awareness is incredible. Original poster, you all don't understand. Social pressure is real. When everyone around you tells you your life is wrong, you start to believe it. It was a moment of weakness, not a reflection of who I'm or what I felt for him. He should be able to see the difference. Anonymous User 3. Original poster, your friends sound terrible, but they are the perfect scapegoat for you. That way you don't have to face the fact that you were the one who did not value a stable and good relationship. You let the idea of excitement ruin your life. Hugo is not punishing you, he is protecting himself from someone who is impulsive and unreliable. Original poster, protecting himself from what? From someone who loves him more than anything and who made a stupid mistake. If love is not for overcoming mistakes, then what is it for? He is not a victim. He is being stubborn and proud. We could be happy again if he would just listen to me, but he does not want to, and that is not fair to either of us. Update 1. A month has passed, a month of living on Valeria's couch, feeling like a ghost in someone else's life. Hugo still is not responding. His silence is torture. I have replayed the events in my head 1,000 times, and every time I come to the same conclusion. I committed the act, yes, but the words, the pressure, the idea were not mine. They were theirs, Sarah's and Valeria's. I decided I could not go on like this. I had to do something, confront the source of the problem. If I could make them understand the damage they had caused, maybe, just maybe, I could fix things. Maybe if they talked to Hugo, if they explained how they manipulated me. It was a desperate hope, but it was all I had. I gathered them both at a coffee shop. I tried to be calm. I told them, girls, I need you to understand the seriousness of this. Hugo is not talking to me. I have lost everything. And it all started because of the things you were telling me, because of the pressure I felt that weekend. Sarah looked at me as if I had grown a second head. Pressure? Lorena, what are you talking about? You are a grown woman. We were just having fun. Nobody put a gun to your head. Valeria added in a softer but equally sharp tone, Lore, we love you, but you cannot blame us for your decisions. We encouraged you to let loose a little, not to sleep with the first guy who crossed your path. Their words hit me like a bucket of cold water. They were washing their hands of it. They were leaving me alone with all the blame. I started to get upset. But you told me my life was boring, that Hugo was too good, that I had to live. I snapped, my voice trembling. You created this insecurity in me. The conversation quickly turned sour. Sarah said I was being dramatic and needed to take responsibility. Valeria, the owner of the couch I was sleeping on, told me I was making the situation very uncomfortable for everyone, that maybe I needed my own space to clear my head. It was a euphemism. She was kicking me out onto the street. I left that coffee shop feeling more alone and betrayed than ever. Not only did I lose the love of my life for listening to them, but now they, my best friends, were turning their backs on me at the worst moment of my life. They used me. I was their project, their experiment to see if they could turn the good girl into one of them. And when the experiment blew up, they simply walked away from the wreckage. Now I have nowhere to go. I'm in a cheap hotel I can barely afford, with no boyfriend, no friends, no home. And all for listening to the wrong people. They pushed me, and now they deny that the cliff even existed. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous user 1. Wow. So your grand plan was to confront your friends so they would take the blame for your actions, and you were surprised when they told you to get lost. Your friends may be a bad influence, but the only person who cheated on Hugo was you. Anonymous user 2. You have managed to lose your boyfriend and your friends in the span of a month. Congratulations. At some point you have to realize that the common denominator in all your problems is you. Original poster, how easy it is to judge. I trusted them. They were supposed to be my friends. They were supposed to look out for me. Instead, they manipulated me into doing something stupid and then abandoned me. I'm the victim here twice over, first from them, and then from Hugo's pride. Anonymous user 3. Your friends did you a favor by kicking you out. They forced you to face the reality that you are on your own in this. Stop looking for people to blame and start looking for solutions. The first step is to look in the mirror. Original poster. I look in the mirror and I see a heartbroken person who made a mistake for being too loyal to the wrong people. My only mistake was trusting. I trusted my friends to guide me, and I trusted that Hugo's love would be strong enough to forgive. I was wrong on both counts. The world is a much crueler place than I thought. Final update. The last few weeks have been the worst of my life. I have been living in that dingy hotel, watching my savings evaporate. Every day was a struggle not to fall into total despair. The loneliness was suffocating. Without Hugo, without Sarah, without Valeria, I was completely adrift, trapped in a loop of self-pity and guilt. One day, I just could not take it anymore. I did something I had not done in years. I drove to my parents' house. I had not told them anything about what had happened out of sheer shame. When my mother opened the door and saw the state I was in, she did not need to ask questions. She just hugged me and, for the first time in months, I completely broke down in a safe place. I told them everything. The influence of my friends, the night on the beach, the breakup, the fight at the coffee shop. I expected a lecture, I expected disappointment, but my father, after listening in silence, told me something that stuck with me. Lorena, your friends did not put the drink in your hand, and that boy did not force you. It was your feet that walked to that beach. And it is your feet that have to walk you out of this. His words were not cruel. They were the truth, a simple, hard truth I had been avoiding. The catalytic event occurred a few days later, while I was at my parents' house trying to piece myself back together. I received a message. It was from an unknown number. It said, Lorena, it is me, Hugo. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I heard through a mutual friend what happened with your friends, and that you are not doing well. I just wanted to say that despite everything, I hope you are safe. And please, don't blame only yourself. I failed too. I took you for granted. I let routine consume us. I don't justify what you did, but I understand the loneliness. Take care. I read the message 10 times. It was not an offer of reconciliation. It was not forgiveness. It was something much more important. It was compassion. It was the Hugo I knew, the good and kind man, showing me one last shred of his kindness, even after I had destroyed him. And in that moment, finally, the narrative broke. It was not my friend's fault. It was not unfair that Hugo would not come back. My friends only gave a voice to an insecurity that already lived inside me, and Hugo did not owe me anything. The fact that he could show me that compassion after everything I did to him showed how incredible he was, and how stupid I had been. I did not reply to him. What could I say? Instead, I saved the message and started making a plan. I'm going to stay with my parents for a while. I'm going to go to therapy to understand why I need the validation of others to the point of self-destruction. I don't know if I will ever see Hugo again, and it is probably for the best. I have lost the love of my life, and I have to live with it. My mistake was not listening to my friends. My mistake was not listening to myself, to the part of me that knew I already had everything I needed. The adventure I was looking for was not on a beach with a stranger. It was in learning to value the calmness, the kindness, and the true love I already had. And that is a lesson I have had to learn in the most painful way possible. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous User 1. Wow, this is the twist I did not expect. Hugo's message is incredibly mature, and your reaction to it is too. It seems you have finally hit rock bottom and are starting to climb up. Anonymous User 2. Your father's comment was perfect. Sometimes we need someone to tell us the truth without sugarcoating, but with love. I'm glad you have that support. The road will be long, but for the first time, you seem to be heading in the right direction. Anonymous User 3. You have gone from chaotic and impulsive to someone who is redeeming herself. Losing Hugo is the price you have paid for this lesson, and it is a high price, but his last message gave you a gift, the chance to forgive yourself. Don't waste it.